Hello, everybody. Thank you for taking the time and joining us today at this Your Overseas Home webinar focused on us sharing our top tips for your viewing trips out to Portugal to buy property. My name's Hannah and I'm one of the team here at Your Overseas Home, and you may have also come across me or our other team members as part of our sister business, Property Guides. Now, as a group as a whole, we aim to help you enjoy the process of purchasing property as much as possible, and we do that by providing lots of buying advice and resources, connecting you with industry experts and inviting you to join us at events such as this one today. We want to make the process as safe and enjoyable as possible for you, and we're delighted to have you with us today. So today, to give you the very best tips and advice on your viewing trips out to Portugal, I'm joined by three industry experts. First up, we will hear from Paul Harris of Smart Currency Exchange. Next up, Fiona Thornton of Luxmo's Christie's. And lastly, Sophia Mello of Martinez, Echevarria, Ferreira and Rivera. Now, for those of you listening in live today, if you have any questions for our three fantastic panelists, please do use the right-hand side of your screen to type in those questions and we will answer as many as we can. We've also got one question that we'd like to put out to you this morning about your viewing trip plans. So in the polls section on the right-hand side of the screen, if you wouldn't mind answering that, it will help us to tailor some of the questions in today's presentation. So without further ado, I'd like to first introduce Paul from Smart Currency Exchange. Now, Paul's worked within the foreign exchange market for over 10 years now. He's got real expertise in helping property buyers. He and his team are based here in the UK and they're on hand to help you at any point with your currency needs. He speaks regularly at events like this, so he's going to have some fantastic answers for all your queries today. So welcome, Paul. First off, I'd like to ask you if you can give us a little bit of background into Smart and how they're able to help our customers.
Thanks, Hannah. Morning, everyone. So yeah, just a little bit about Smart Currency. So we're a foreign currency specialist. And so we've helped over 40,000 people in exactly the same position as yourselves who are purchasing property overseas over the last 15 years. So a well-established business. And like I said, I've helped a large number of people to really keep the costs as effective as possible and really minimize the risk that's associated with currency as well. So we offer a fully bespoke service to everyone. Everyone's requirements are slightly different in the amounts that they'd be transferring, the timescales. We'll work very closely with you to make sure you've got full peace of mind. And like I said earlier, most importantly, keep the costs as low as possible when it comes to the actual currency transfers.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Paul. Now, we're obviously thinking about the context of viewing trips this morning and people kind of really kicking off that buying process. How early do they need to think about money transfers in the context of their buying journey?
As soon as you start thinking about purchasing a property, it's a good idea to at least have an initial chat with us. So if you've been looking online or speaking to an estate agent about certain types of property, you'll be looking at potentially number of bedrooms, locations, amenities, but there'll also always be a price range that you'll be looking at as well. So you'll be looking at certain type of prices in euros. We can help you right from that early stage to really help you understand if the budget that you have for the property. So say, for example, it's in pounds sterling. We can help you understand if that pound sterling budget will match the types of property that you're looking at on a price perspective, and then work with you when the time comes to obviously make that achievable and actually be able to afford the property. So right from the early stages, we can be an asset for you.
That's great to know. Thanks, Paul, because I imagine people often think that the sort of payment bit comes at the end. So great to know that they should be thinking about it now. Thank you. Now, I know that Smart has a number of different products available for people and different ways that you can transfer. Can you give us a quick overview of the different types of ways that customers could work with you?
Absolutely, yeah. So we have a few popular products when obviously people are looking at transferring large sums of money overseas. Two most known about products are spot contracts and forward contracts, both very popular products. Spot contract is a very handy tool. It can get money over into Portugal very quickly. So say, for example, you agree a price today, and you want to transfer the money immediately. We can agree today's exchange rate. You send the money to us straight away within the next couple of days. As soon as we receive the funds, we'll send the euros out to the bank account that you've nominated to be the receiving account. So really popular, as it's very quick and effective. You can get the money over into Portugal, like I said, often in the same or next working day. What probably our most popular product when it comes to property buyers is the forward contract. And the reason it's so popular is because it gives you full security, and it actually gives you a complete peace of mind when you are purchasing a property with that your budget is secure. Now, the way it works is very simple. So say, for example, you're on a viewing trip today, you fall in love with a property, and you agree and sign on the dotted line that I'm going to go ahead with this price and this property. Price you're agreeing is in euros. So that price will, as soon as you signed, will stay the same. So that euro cost is always going to be there. That's how much you're going to be paying. What will change is how much that's going to cost in pounds as the exchange rates and the markets move. So typically we find that it can often be between the day you agree and the day you complete, can be around the 3-month mark, because obviously lots of different things to do in the meantime. So like I said, your price is agreed in euros, but what will be changing is the price in pounds. So a forward contract takes that risk away. So say, for example, you agree today, you know your price in euros, and you're happy with the exchange rate that we can offer you today, and it matches your budget in pounds sterling. We agree the exchange rate today, and we can fix that rate for up to 12 months. So even if it's longer than 3 months or shorter than 3 months, whatever the date is, we can fix and hold that rate for that period of time. We take a 10% deposit, which is just 10% of the total contract. And on completion date, you pay the remaining balance of the 90%. So it gives you full security that your exchange rate is being held. So if we were to see any dips in the market, your price is completely protected. So you don't lose out at all. It gives you that full peace of mind and security that your price is secure. You know your budget is safe. And if we can time it right for you, it may even be cheaper than what you originally thought it was going to be. So you might have some money left over if the property needs some renovations, or you just wanted to have a little bit of money left over for whatever you wanted. It gives you that peace of mind. So it's a really popular product, and something that we see a lot of our customers using, just because it gives that security and takes the risk away. A couple of other popular products are orders. So if the exchange rate isn't quite where you want it to be today, so you've, again, same example, you signed on the dotted line, price isn't quite where you want it to be. You want it to be the pound to be a little bit stronger. We can target higher rates and put an order in for you. So there's 2 different options here. We can do an order to call or an order to buy. An order to call is as exactly what it says on the tin. So the exchange rate that you're targeting has been achieved. We'll get on the phone to you straight away, let you know that it's been achieved, have a conversation with you. If you're happy at that point, we'll then book the transfer for you at that better rate. Again, we can do that on a forward contract at that point if that's what you wanted to do as well. It doesn't have to be done immediately. We can have that time window again. An order to buy, slightly different. So you send the funds to us up front. As soon as the rate is achieved, we will buy the currency for you. So you guarantee that rate as the market is hit. But the most important thing to mention with orders is that we can't guarantee that the market will get there. So we're completely at the mercy of the market there. So we could be looking at a rate that's 1 or 2 cents higher than where we are now. If the market doesn't get there, we obviously can't offer that price. So it does come with a little bit more risk, because if the markets were to drop in that time period, we're then going to be trading at a lower rate than potentially what we were at when we first spoke. So it has a good upside potential, but there is the potential downside. So it doesn't have quite as much protection as a forward contract. It does give you that little bit of extra flexibility and the potential for a bit of an upside on the market for you. So they're our most popular products when it comes to actually transferring for the property purchase.
Thank you. That's a great overview, Paul. Now, what do you charge in terms of fees or commissions for these different products?
We don't charge a fee. We don't charge any commissions either. Where we make our money is in the actual exchange rate and the market itself. So if you were to go online and Google, let's just again use for this example pound sterling to euros, you'd see an exchange rate on Google or whichever website you're looking at. That's the market price or the interbank price. It's where the banks are trading with each other. We can buy very close to that rate from our bank, and the rate we offer to you again will be slightly different to the rates that we're offering from the bank. So we make our money between where we're buying and where we sell to you. But the exchange rate that we're offering to you will always be very transparent. You'll know where the market is. You'll know where what price we're offering. So there's not going to be any hidden costs or fees, and it's a very transparent exchange rate that you'd be given from ourselves. So no fees or commissions that we charge directly to you.
Thank you. That's really helpful to know. Thanks, Paul. Now, a lot of customers often ask us, why would they use somebody like Smart Currency Exchange when their bank can do transfers for them? What's the sort of advantages of what you're offering?
Main advantage really is service. So if you were to go into your high street bank and say, look, I need to move 100 to 200,000 pounds to Portugal to purchase this property, you may speak to a cashier that has no experience of foreign exchange. They'll just type into the computer, this is how much this client wants to exchange. The computer will spit out an exchange rate for you, and that's the service that you're going to get. With ourselves, we'll actually be able to talk you through the process, give you a little bit of guidance on, is it a good time to trade at the moment? Could we potentially have you got potential to wait, as there may be some upsides? But really talk you through the whole process and sort of hold your hand for it. I mean, it's a lot of buying a property overseas, and certainly with Portugal, can be significant amounts of money. Speaking to an expert that's going to guide you through the process just gives you that added peace of mind. And most importantly, at the end of the day, when we're comparing to a bank, the exchange rate that we can offer is going to be much better. So it's going to be far more favourable to use ourselves in comparison to a bank. So yeah, main reason for us is the service that we can offer, but at the end of the day, it's going to be a cheaper solution for you as well.
That's brilliant. Thank you. And last question that we've had in from a customer today is just wondering kind of how safe is their money, particularly with these forward contracts or where there's a lot of deposit involved in the transaction. How do they know that their money's kept safe?
So we make sure that it's paramount for us that your money is always secure. We're fully authorised by the FCA and governed by the HMRC as well. And when you send money to us, it doesn't go directly into a Smart Currency account. So it's always going into a client holding account with our bank. So your money is completely safeguarded. So if you send money to us and we're holding funds for you, in the unlikely event that anything was to go wrong with Smart as a business, your money is completely safeguarded. It'll be completely returned to the account that sent the money to us. So yeah, it's completely secure for you. The only time we would take money actually into the Smart Currency accounts is after the transfer has been completed and the money has ended up in Portugal. We then take the sterling, obviously, that you've sent to us to pay for the contract. So yeah, completely safe. If my contact details are on the screen at the moment. If you'd like any more information about the security and how we and the different guidelines that we follow, please do email me and I'll be more than happy to send some more extra information out.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Paul. Really, really helpful advice there. And I think, the key thing to take away from what you've said is, you think that the transfer comes at the end of the process, but actually it's never too early really to start thinking about it. So thank you for sharing your insights and expertise there. Now, moving on to the next step of the buying process. And obviously the main reason for the viewing trip is going to be going to see the beautiful properties that Portugal has to offer. So to share her insight and expertise in the Portuguese property market, I'd like to welcome all the way from sunny Portugal, Fiona Thornton of Luxembourg Christie's. Now, Fiona has worked in real estate all over the world, including Canada, Hungary, Spain, and over 12 years spent in Portugal. So she's really well placed to be able to answer our queries and questions today. So thank you, Fiona, and welcome. I'd love it if you, similar to Paul, if you could start by just giving us a little bit of background to the business and to what you do and how you can help our listeners.
Sure. I mean, Christie's, I think, is a world-renowned name, and I know that often we're associated with luxury property, but here in the Algarve, we work with people on all different levels, and we cover from the Spanish border right the way across to the western coast. In fact, on Tuesday, I'll be in Algeciras, so very beautiful area in the west, and we work very hard to personalize everything to a particular client. So the aim is always to offer the best service and find something that fits in with exactly with what the client's looking for. So if it's an investment or a holiday home, or if they want to make the move and come and live here permanently.
Wonderful. Thank you, Fiona. That's great. Now, thinking about a viewing trip, how early on does a customer need to start sort of planning and preparing for a trip? How much time does it take to set these things up?
It doesn't actually take me very long to set things up. I think at the moment the main issue is probably with scheduling and making sure that the clients are here on at the right time. As we move into August, for example, that's quite a difficult time because most properties, if they're on the holiday rental market, are rented out, so we can't access them to view. So if you sort of think of the peak holiday times as actually not being the best times to be viewing properties, it's probably easier and cheaper than for booking the viewing trip because you'll be coming off season. But you know, I like to be talking to people sort of from 6 months before the trip in and just putting everything in order and starting to get a feel for the different areas that are going to suit rather than focusing on individual properties. And then sort of 2 weeks before arrival, that's when we'll start to shortlist things and I'll make the schedule for viewings. So it's a step-by-step process, you know. So for example, with Paul from Smart Currency, I'll always recommend that clients speak to him at about the 3-month mark, so that you know they're starting to form their ideas about the transfers. And the same with a lawyer. So Sophia, for example, it's great to talk to her about the different visas that are necessary, or how the actual financial side of the transactions work as well. So, but I'll prompt you every step of the way. So that when
That's
you get
great.
here, you're just ready to enjoy
That's
the
great
time.
to know. That's great to know that you're there on hand for people. And a lot of the customers listening have said they're actually trying to arrange a trip in the next sort of 3 to 6 months. So perfect time. If you aren't already speaking to Fiona and her team, definitely time to get in touch and time to make those plans. Now, if someone's on a viewing trip for sort of 2 weeks, how many properties would you recommend they try and view in that time period?
It's really rare over here to have 2 weeks worth of properties to look at, if that makes sense. So I think a nice sort of 3 or 4 day trip is ideal, and perhaps with a day free for the beach or the market or whatever it is that a person likes to do. And I'd try and aim to show 3 properties a day, but then also factor that in a little bit with a visit to the lawyer, with a visit to the local town, because quite often for my clients it will be the first time that they visited an area. So I'm not just going to bombard and show 15 houses in one day and they wonder where they were. So if, for example, it's Tavira, we'll go and we'll spend the morning and have coffee out by one of the beaches there, and then I'll wander through the town at lunchtime and stop in a little restaurant by the river for lunch, so that they feel how their life will be when they're here. Because I think that's actually by far the most important thing that I need to understand about a client is what they're going to do. You know, because if somebody tells me that they love sports and running and keeping fit, and you know, there are certain areas that I know just won't work for them. So it's really important when they're here with me, that they get to experience what it will be like waking up here in the morning at their own house, and how it's going to feel to live here or be holidaying here regularly.
That's great. I mean, it sounds wonderful, and it is really important that you've completely understood the customers. So it sounds like an ideal service. Thank you. Now, in terms of kind of the documentation that customers need to view properties, you know, what do they need to show you anything? Do they need to have any sort of proof of funds or anything like that they need to give you in advance of any viewings?
No. So everybody at the moment needs to bear in mind each seller is different. So not all sellers are here. But if somebody is living in the property, I have somebody this week who's very, very afraid with the current situation with the virus of having viewings. So sometimes a seller is going to ask you to disinfect your hands as you're going into the property. We are still wearing masks inside houses. I know that regulations are changing in the UK, but here for the time being at least, when you're inside and outside in busy areas, you will need to wear a mask. So it's rather than documentation. I mean, we'll have discussed all of that before somebody arrives in Portugal, so that you know we're just sort of enjoying the experience rather than worrying too much about paperwork side of things.
That's brilliant. Yeah, really, really good to understand the kind of the point in the process for customers. Now, we've had some viewers' questions come in this morning, just some of the sort of practicalities. Somebody has asked, after buying a house in the Algarve, how much could they expect to pay yearly for things like electricity, water, council taxes, things like that? Have you got any indication on those amounts?
It will be different for every single house. So, so what I would say to that person is have a chat with me during the week, perhaps this week. Maybe we can exchange some emails, and if they give me an idea of which area they're looking at of the Algarve and what kind of property, you know, electricity can be quite expensive over here compared to other countries in Europe. But again, it depends on personal use. You know, if somebody's quite economical with their use of electricity. I tend to pay about €75 a month for my apartment for electricity during the winter, and that drops down to around about 25 in the summer. My water bill is €20 a month. I don't have a pool though, so you know, but the taxes are different, and usually, you know, when it comes to the monthly taxes, they're set by the local councils. Every council has a different rate and a different way of calculating that tax. So quite literally, every house is different.
And when somebody's viewing a property, are they able to access that information on what those taxes might be? You know, if there's one they like the look of, you'll be able to find that out for them.
Yes, I mean, if they chose something off our website and emailed it to me and said, you know, could you give me an idea of the sometimes there are condominium fees if it's a gated community, for example, on a golf course, and that will be over and above the local municipal taxes. So I can give them an idea of what the monthly costs would be. Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant.
It's not a secret. It's just difficult to calculate without having a property in mind.
Of course. Now we've talked quite a bit there about the Algarve and your area of expertise. Customers, a couple of different customers have asked, do you cover Madeira and do you cover the Silver Coast, or do you work with agents that do?
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about us and the way that we work. So I don't, although Christie's has a portfolio of properties, I don't have a part in that side of the business. So when I have a client that comes to me, if they're looking for, again, for example, the client in Algeciras on Tuesday. So currently we only have about 4 properties out in Algeciras. It's about an hour and a half, 2 hours drive from here in Villamora, where I'm based. But I'll work in partnership with other agents so that we do get full days of viewing, and we get to see all the different kinds of properties that the client would like to. But I'm still their point of focus. So, you know, they're only explaining their story and what they're looking for once, and then I will liaise with everybody else. It doesn't cost the client anything extra at all, and it just means that I can form a meaningful schedule that's a mixture of Christie's properties and from other agents, and it just means that the client gets to see the best of what's available for them rather than what I have on my books or what another agent has on their books. And so I always find it's the ideal way to work to get somebody what they really need. So when it comes to Madeira, yes, absolutely, I can recommend somebody over there that could help. And the Silver Coast, and we have offices up in Porto, and going further north too. We also have offices in Lisbon and Cascais. So, you know, I can pretty much cover most areas of the mainland, and then heading onto the islands, I can recommend somebody that I know works very well.
That's great. Thank you, Fiona. Really helpful. And I hope that's answered a few different queries that we've had in there. Thank you. Now, you've obviously talked a lot about the service that you provide, and it's a fantastic and really comprehensive service for the buyers. Do buyers pay you any fees for that service, or is it like the market that we're used to here in the UK, where essentially your fees come from the seller once you've sold their home?
Yes, so the seller pays all of our fees. There's no cost to anybody looking at property. We don't there's no charge for viewings, or if somebody wants me to sort of be dedicated to them for a week and do a viewing trip, there's no charge for that. I may need the occasional coffee here and there, but I know all the best places, so it's sort of a quid pro quo. I can show them where all the nice cafes are, and for the price of an espresso. But usually cut me off after 6, otherwise.
That's a deal. I think I'm sure we can agree on that coffee deal, no problem. Now, Fiona, this is a potentially big question to ask, but obviously things we are seeing, hopefully, touch wood, the end of this pandemic, and we are hopefully coming out the other side. What has COVID done to the market? You know, are we in a buyer's market at the moment? Is it a seller's market? Are there deals to be done? Are prices on the rise? Can you just give us, you know, with your local knowledge and your expertise, what's really happening in the Portuguese market at the moment?
I've never seen anything like it in all of my years of real estate. I have never seen anything like what's happened here in the last 10 months. So what I would say is we've sort of had this almost like a perfect storm. Everybody was waiting for Brexit to be finished, and Brexit was suddenly finished, and then COVID sort of came straight off the back of that. So with residency laws and permits changing and golden visa laws changing, it created this, I won't say panicked, but there was certainly, people were feeling pressure that, you know, if they wanted to meet certain deadlines, they had to buy properties. But also, a lot of people have questioned their lives and their lifestyles in the last 18 months. And I'm not just talking about people from the UK. So people from further north in Lisbon, people who have lived all their lives in cities, suddenly found themselves in apartments with no outdoor space, questioning how they were living. And so a lot of those people have searched for properties down here in the Algarve, finding that they can still commute if necessary. It's a couple of hours drive up to Lisbon. But people are doing meetings on Zoom. People are working from home a lot more. So what I found is, and then into that you add the mix of ordinary Europeans that are doing the same thing. They can work from the Algarve as easily as working from home in Brussels or Stockholm, and then into that come the British, and so they've had a bit more of a problem getting here in the last 6 months. They've struggled to get here, but when they are getting here, what they're finding is things are moving very quickly. I had some clients last week that during the hour that we went for lunch to talk about the offer, the property was withdrawn from the market, and that's never happened to me before, and it was heartbreaking. I mean, we will carry on searching, but so small villas with their own pools and gardens and a bit of privacy, if they're priced correctly, aren't staying on the market even long enough to go online a lot of the time. Apartments, slightly longer, but the market it's certainly price-wise is climbing. A lot of people are asking me if I think there are, what kind of offer can they make? It's negligible. Occasionally I get somebody with a personal circumstance that I know about, and I could advise of an offer. But in general, no, there are not huge offers being taken. People are not panic selling. It really is. It's becoming a seller's market, but it's still a good time to buy, if that makes sense.
That's fantastic. Really, really helpful to get that advice, Fiona, because I think there is a bit of a misconception out there that maybe post-COVID there's deals to be done. But actually, I think it's really reconfirmed for us. And I hope it's been useful for the listeners today that, strike whilst the iron's hot. And a lot of you on here are saying that you want to go on your viewing trip soon. So do get in touch with Fiona and her team, and do get out there and find that home for your future. I'm conscious of our time, so we're going to move on now. Thank you, Fiona. If we've got time at the end and there's any more questions, we'll certainly come back to you. And otherwise, Fiona's details are on screen now, and we will send them out via email afterwards, so you can get in touch and start making that move. But I'd like to move on to our third and final panelist of the day, Sophia Mello of now I never say this right, Martinez, Echevarria, Ferreira and Rivera. I'm trying to get better with my pronunciation. Oh, I got a thumbs up. I'm pleased with that. Now, Sophia has extensive experience with international clients, both on the legal side of the buying process and also some fantastic advice that she can offer on the new visa process now that we have Brexited, and what you might need in terms of your visa and residency permit. So welcome today, Sophia. As I have with our other panelists, can I ask you to start by just giving a little bit of background into the firm and how you're able to help our viewers today?
Well, yes, of course. Good morning to all. Thanks for having us here once again to share something that we can share with you. So our law office, our aim is to help foreign citizens to make their investment in Portugal for business, for holidays, for residency purposes. We try to do our best to assist, to make all the process straightforward, to help on any issues that may happen, to advise, and to make things done as soon as possible. As Fiona said, the market is very fast. We experienced in the past almost 2 years a different way of working because of the difficulties in traveling to Portugal to do the processes, and we kind of specialize on this to be able to do things on the distance, to be able to assist the clients before they come to Portugal, before they are here, while they are in their own countries, to make things happen even if they can come to Portugal. So if I can say, we are the arms, the hands, and the eyes sometimes of the client here in Portugal to make things done, to when it's possible for the client to arrive, to have already the keys ready, the contracts done, and the safest way possible. So we try to do our best to do that kind of assistance to the clients.
That's brilliant. That's really helpful to know how much support clients can get, even if they're not out in Portugal. So thank you, Sophia. So kind of on that point, when should customers start talking to you and engaging with a solicitor? And when in their buying journey do they need to, sign up with you and your team?
Well, we have different kinds of approach, because normally the client should have a glimpse on financing, how he's going to do the financing, how he's going to transfer funds for Portugal, and with a real estate agent to at least organize the visiting. Because we already had clients that contacted us, look, I'm willing to invest, so I want to talk with the lawyer first to understand the procedures, and we can provide all the information. And we always say, look, you have to contact a real estate agent to know which properties are available and about the prices. We as lawyers, we are not real estate agents. We can tell the client, look, the market is now very fast. So if you are willing to buy fast, you need to organize your traveling back to Portugal. So if a client is organizing, as Fiona advised, is organizing a trip to Portugal within like 6 or 4 months before, if he already has some contacts with real estate agents, yes, it's a good time also to understand which documents could he provide to organize, for instance, a meeting to have a power of attorney, what the procedures are. So when start talking to someone in Portugal regarding properties, yes, it's a good time to start seeing the procedures, because the client wants to know mainly. If we want to know if the client wants to live in Portugal, if it's just for investment, so we can organize that and advise on the right way, because some clients doesn't even know what they want to do in the future. Sometimes they say, okay, I want to buy for holidays, but within 1 or 2 years, I want to retire and go to Portugal. So we can advise on that part. So if the client wants, and we provide this information for free, like as a first contact, we on the distance, we can do Zoom meetings, we can answer by email, so the client can organize also in the legal part. So yes, when he starts talking to real estate agents, he can start talking to us too.
Brilliant. That's really helpful. Thank you, Sophia. Now, in terms of the various documents and things that customers will need to sign in order to arrange their property purchase, perhaps their visa applications or residency applications. Are they all in Portuguese, and do you translate those documents into English for customers?
Yes, all the documents will be translated to English. So power of attorneys, our power of attorneys, in special in our office, they are in two languages. They have two columns in Portuguese, because it's mandatory, of course, and also in English or French or other language that the client speaks, so they can understand all the points of the power of attorney. So most of all the forms are in Portuguese, of course, but we provide translations of everything. We don't let the clients sign anything that they don't understand what they are signing. And when we can provide also certificated translations, if, for instance, for the residency processes, all the documents that the clients send to us in English, for instance, from the UK, we can provide to the authorities, because it's mandatory, certified translations. We can do it in our office, no problem at all.
Excellent. That's really helpful and really reassuring for everybody listening. Thank you. Now, in terms of the property process, how long does it typically take from putting an offer in on a property to actually the buying process being completed, with all the paperwork and, you know, getting the keys in hand? How long typically would that be?
Well, I already had processes completed in less than 2 weeks, and had process that could take like 3 months to get completed or more. So it all depends on two main things: the funds that the buyer needs and how he needs, if he needs a bank financing, a bank loan, if he doesn't need it, if he has to unblock some kind of funds in your country, and on the side of the seller, when does the seller have the house free to deliver? Because some sellers, they need the house to live until they are able to buy another or to move from that house from. Sometimes they ask for 1 or 2 or 3 months, sometimes for more. And also there is other possibility, because some people prefer to buy things off plan, so still in construction, and that, of course, it's a long contract to be done. But nevertheless, if all the documents are okay, if the seller is willing to deliver the house quickly, clean, free, in all good conditions, we can, the minimum is, it will be like 2 weeks, and it's a very fast process if the client is already here, if the funds are ready. But I will say the minimum, let's talk 1 month, and the regular 2 to 3 months to complete everything.
Brilliant, thank you. That's really helpful. So, you know, people could be in their new homes fairly soon, which is great to hear. I did want to seek some of your advice on the different visa and residency processes, as I know that's a real hot topic for people at the moment. We've had a customer who's asked, what areas are covered by the golden visa at the moment? Do they need to buy in particular areas in order to get that?
No, not for now. Until the end of the year, of this year, 2021, the changes are not applied. The new rules for the golden visa, the limitations on certain areas will be applied only from January on, okay? So, and this year, in this 2021 year, the buyer can buy everywhere, any type of property, and providing that he can complete the purchase and request the golden visa in this year, it's perfectly doable in any kind of region. It doesn't matter where, okay? After January, there will be limitations on the areas. There are still areas I'm speaking about the Algarve because it's my area, but there are still areas in the Algarve, as Fiona said, like Algesur, for instance, that will be still applicable for golden visa, and some kind of properties, I'm talking about touristic properties, shops, and commercial properties, still be applied for the golden visa everywhere. So only habitation will suffer those changes in, you know, what we call prime areas or more touristic areas. So in this year, everything can be done as it's normally done.
Thank you. And can you explain, when customers are applying for visas, so British customers who want to be able to stay longer than their 90 days, how long does that process typically take? Because a customer has raised the query that if they're only allowed in the country for 90 days, they arrive, they submit their application, the application isn't granted and the 90 days run out, what happens there? So can you just explain a little bit about the application process?
Yes, we are talking about golden visas only, or the other residency processes?
Other residency processes.
Okay, so we need to separate the ways of getting residency, because the golden visa, it's quite a different process, because you don't have to do nothing in your own country to prepare to come to Portugal to submit for the golden visa. You can come with a tourist visa, a regular one, and then buy a house and submit for the golden visa without no problem. The only thing is that, in fact, the tourist visa has a validation of 90 days. It can be extended for another 90 very easily. So it's near to the end of the 90 days. You go to the services, you ask for an extension. You can justify, like, I applied for this visa, so I need to be here a little more time. Or even, I like so much this place, I want to stay more, another 90 days. They will extend easily. So it's a maximum of 6 months to be in Portugal without no problems. Also, if the process in 6 months or even in 3 months, if things start to get better, because the services are awful at this point, we hope after the summer everything is a little more organized. Because of COVID, the services were restructuring. It's quite difficult. But in 3 months or 4 months, maybe we have an approval on the documentation. And in fact, the authorities are not being very picky. So if the client can have a proof that I submitted this, it's still on evaluation, he could stay with no problem, because there will be an appointment, and that appointment is personal. He has to be present. So the client will be allowed to stay in Portugal until that appointment is scheduled, because it takes a long time to get the scheduling, actually, and the authorities will not just send the people away to do the thing. So this is for golden visa. When you are asking for a different residency visa, it works differently, because you have to start preparing stuff with the Portuguese consulate in your country before coming. And because it's not a tourist visa, for a residency visa, like if the client, if the investor wants to really live in Portugal for more than 6 months, and that's mandatory, and that's the main difference with the golden visa, because the golden visa doesn't oblige anyone to live permanently in Portugal. You are a resident, but without being a resident. The regular residency processes really oblige people to live here most of the year. So when you enter Portugal, you have to enter with the proper visa and not just a tourist visa, which means you start preparing with at least 2 months before coming to Portugal with the Portuguese consulate. And we can also assist on this, because they will ask for a lot of documents that maybe the foreign citizen doesn't understand what it is. So we can start assisting also on the distance. Submit for a residency visa. What is this? It's a visa to travel for residency purposes. And that is not a 90 days visa. It's a 4 months visa, 130, that when it's given to the client, he can come to Portugal, and he has 4 months to establish and to get a residency and to get an appointment at CEF. So, and as soon as he gets this appointment, he also is allowed to stay, even if it takes a little longer than the 4 months. But the most important is to get to Portugal, get a Portuguese address, like renting or buying, it doesn't matter, and submitting and asking for that appointment and the services, and it will be good. Okay, it's just this difference, because the golden visa, it's a lighter process, more expensive but lighter on the procedures, but the residency visas need some preparation before. Of course, we are here to help on that, because it may be a little confusing on the consulate services at the beginning.
Thank you, Sophia. That's really, really helpful. And it's always fantastic to hear your expert advice on this, because it's so knowledgeable. As with all the panelists today, it's a fantastic panel with really knowledgeable advice. So thank you all. I'm conscious of our time today. We do need to wind up today's session. We could, I'm sure, sit and chat for hours longer about all of these interesting topics. But thank you all for sharing your insight and expertise. Thank you, everybody who's listening to us today, whether it's live or on demand. We will be in contact with you next week and share all of the contact information of the speakers today, so you can speak to them directly and get in touch directly. But thank you again for taking the time to listen this morning. Thank you to our panelists for sharing their expertise. The last thing we're going to do is just pop a link on screen to the Property Guides website. On our site there, we've got buying guides, we've got blog articles, we've got case studies of people who've bought in Portugal. There's fantastic resources on the site there, so do take a look, and we'll be able to help you there as well as you realise your dream to move overseas. So thank you again all for listening, and the last thing to say is just happy property hunting, and we wish you a really successful move to Portugal. So thank you all for joining. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.